you found your way here, then you're probably somebody who doesn't quite fit into one space or another. Maybe you're too dark and alternative for the wellness holistic spaces, and maybe you're too spiritual and enlightened for the more gothic alternative spaces and darker practices. But here, I want to welcome you, all my queer, weird, spiritual, witchy, untamed, rule breaking people, queer people, people of color, women, and those who are on the outskirts of society or those who don't follow the rules of society, and being true and honest and authentic to themselves. And this is why I created Dark Moon Sanctuary. Dark Moon Sanctuary is the place for people like you, people like me, who don't feel like they have a specific space that they fit into. And I really wanted to create a space for all of my queer, witchy, spiritual, and deeply intuitive and magical beings can come together and do our practice together and not spiritually bypass our shadows, and to use our shadows, use our darkness to find our light again. So welcome to Dark Moon Sanctuary. I'm Natalie. I am your priestess witch who tends it. So grab some tea, light a candle, and let's get to know each other a little better, and I can tell you a little bit about how I can serve you and how I can invite you into my sanctuary. This sanctuary is for those who want to walk the path of the shadow, where we embrace our darkness and don't shy away from seeing the traits and the parts of ourselves that have been unloved or have been shameful or embarrassing, or parts of our lives that have been really hurtful, and using those shadows from our past and from within ourselves to be the keys of our enlightenment, to be the keys of our healing and potential and growth, and being able to have a really fulfilling life with beautiful relationships, and to be able to manifest all that your heart desires. But first, we need to traverse the darkness. We need to go into the underworld, and we need to embrace these aspects that aren't talked about or are deemed not okay or evil in society. So here you're welcome. Here we can walk through the shadows together and traverse the underworld together, and we will find our way out and have an even brighter, bigger, more abundant life on the other side. A little bit about my story that I want to share that brought me to this place in my life right now as a shadow worker and a practitioner of the mystical arts is that I grew up in a very Christian Catholic household, and I didn't feel comfortable exploring different parts of myself and my interests that were not appropriate in a Christian household. And it really caused a bit of a big separation between who I really wanted to be or wanted to explore who I was and what society and my family and the church wanted me to be. And during these formidable years, in my teen years and in my young childhood, there were parts of myself that I felt shamed of liking and being interested in. I was really interested in like spooky stories and horror and vampires and playing pretend and pretending I'm a monster. And I started to love wearing black and listening to like moodier, darker music as I started getting into my teen years. And those were shamed, and I had to suppress it until I was able to leave the home and fully dive into why I was so intrigued by these things, why I was so intrigued by the dark, when I was raised to be of the light and be of a follower of God and Christ. And I honestly didn't find my spiritual path. I didn't find that connection to a greater being until I left the home and started researching mythology and researching other creation myths from all over the world, and looking at different types of spirituality and religions and really opening myself up to what else is out there other than just what I've been told was the right one. And through that journey, which is about 15 years ago, I found what everyone was telling me what God was, but I didn't find it in the church. I found it in the moon. I found God in nature. I found it in the plants that I work with. I found God within my own mind by working with the tarot and working with my natal chart and my shadow placements in my astrology chart. And through all these different practices, I realized the power wasn't an external source that I had to pray to and worship. I was able to tap into it within myself through these different tools. So why I'm here is to show you that there is a way to be grounded in reality and be of the earth, but still know that you are truly divine, even in your darkness, especially in your darkness. So in this channel, I will be exploring the concepts of archetypes, and in the concept of archetypes, we're going to dive into all our dark goddesses, the dark deities that maybe were shunned in traditional religion, but here we embrace the dark feminine aspects of ourselves within us, whether you're woman, trans, non-binary, man even, but the dark feminine archetypes have been suppressed, and I'm here to raise those archetypes up because they exist within all of us. So I'll be talking about not only these dark goddess archetypes, but also the moon cycle and how we can sync ourselves with the moon for those who are connected with living in a cyclical manner, especially with the dark moon. When there is no moon in the sky, what are we honoring within ourselves? How can we honor our own lives and our cycles when the moon is waning and waxing? I also am an herbalist, and I work with plants and plant spirits, and in the form of teas and tinctures, but also food, because the energy that is in the food that we eat is also a spiritual practice too. So those are some things that I'll be exploring, among many other concepts like tarot and astrology, as well as my own personal life and what it's like to live as a cottage witch and live in a very aesthetic place. And I want to show that aesthetic and beauty is also part of a healing modality. Being able to truly explore what I love and what I find beautiful and what I find that is dark and alluring was also a huge part of my spiritual growth. So I'll not only be sharing my magical practices with you and my rituals, but also my home, my personal sanctuary, and why beauty and aesthetic can be a gateway for deepening your understanding of yourself and your connection with spirit and divine and your own psychology, your depth psychology. So if you are interested in shadow work, if you're interested in working with deities or archetypes to release and unleash different aspects of yourself, to find empowerment and to break away from deep-rooted chains from growing up in a society or a family or community where you couldn't fully express yourself, then let's walk this path together. And I would love to hear your thoughts and what you would like to see, and I would love to hear any questions that you have if you want to leave them in the comments below this video. Or you can email me at info@thehouseofartemis.com, and I would love to connect with you there as well. So thank you so much for walking with me, and I hope to see you soon and welcome you back into the sanctuary. Blessed be.